Okay, so in the last video, I talked about how repeated measures designs introduce a certain type of bias. And so this video is about addressing that bias that occurs from designs. So just a refresher, independent groups design, participants participate in one group and we randomly assign an individual's condition. In a repeated measure design, we have the same people across all conditions. There is participant bias, and we use that participant bias and we control it statistically, right? So we want the same people the same in all conditions so we can remove the participant bias from conditions. Whereas in between subjects, we can't do that. We don't have the statistical ability to tease out the effect of an individual. Whereas a repeated measure design, we do. But the problem is that the experimental design itself introduces a different type of bias, specifically these order effects. So there are huge advantages to repeated measures design. It's much cheaper to run an independent repeated measures design, and you get more power. The dependent variable, or the denominator of your statistic is smaller. You end up having more power with a repeated measures inferential statistic. You need fewer participants. It's sensitive. The person is their own control group. So, of course, the groups are equivalent because the person can't be different. Now, the problem is the person might become different. Order effects mean that there's some impact of the design itself that has outcomes on the performance of them afterwards. So we're going to talk about practice effects, fatigue effects, and carryover effects. For each of these, I'm going to use a few examples to see if I can get you to think more broadly about these. So I'm going to have you think about design examples with billiards, maybe the quality of stick, quality of table, situational circumstances. Maybe you learn how to do something different, or you practice maybe you practice bank shots for a week. Are you better at banks the week after or before? Another one is a racing game example, and I have a video that I made for this example. I'll make a couple more because I think there's just so much beauty in that example. But you can change the quality of the car itself, whether it's a racing car or not a racing car. You can change the engine. You can change what tires they are, whether they're racing tires or not. Maybe the quality of the parts. So the example, the video that you have available to you, it's quality of parts in the same car. And then the situation. So maybe you do it with low lighting or high lighting, or maybe you're doing it during dinner. Maybe we can do it with teaching videos. So maybe there's the presence of a tie or not. I always wear a tie so you see them more professional. Whether or not I've got visual aids in the background. So I try to have appropriate visual aids in these PowerPoint slides, but there's not a lot of visual aids. Maybe they could be more video or more GIFs used. What's the background? I've changed my background again. I don't know if you've noticed any of the changes that occurred, but we got a new background behind us. And then the situation, right? Morning or evening. I'm much better at these lectures in the morning than I am at the evening. How light outside, maybe how many cars are passing by. I've been able to record these much better since traffic has died down because we don't hear nearly as much car traffic. Or maybe, the picture. Have you been watching the picture behind Leela, the beginning and end of the video slides? The picture changes. Now you'll go back and watch the video. And a last design thing about making the best of stay at home. So whether you listen to your music in your headphone or in the stereo or no music at all, maybe whether you're engaged in meaningful tasks every day or not, you're just trying to engage in escapism or not, whether you're being mindful of the people around you or the situation, or whether you're masking or not masking your interpersonal feelings. So do you tell everybody on Facebook when you're having a good day or a bad day? Maybe we could manipulate whether or not how you're interacting with social media. So all of these could be examples of studies that we do, and all of them, I hope you can imagine how a practical effect would come out. So if I'm playing billiards over a week, I get better just because I've been playing for a week, regardless of whether or not I'm playing in good or bad lighting. If I'm racing for a week, I get better regardless of whether or not I'm doing a different car. If I'm if you're watching me wear ties, you get better, or maybe I get better, or whatever. There's other changes that I've got in my outfit. Over time, I'm just getting better at being an online delivery, and it has nothing to do with the tie or absence of tie. Or maybe all of these things with staying at home, just the longer we're at home, the more we can cope with these new and odd circumstances. So these other factors that we're putting in don't change you as much as just being there. So that's a practice effect, that just doing the task across time changes the outcome beyond what you would expect for the manipulation. So remember, in a paired t-test, we have the numerator is the difference score of the samples. How did time 1 differ from time 2, minus the mu difference. That mu difference is, now if we assume a practice effect, we can put a tiny mu difference in there so that your numerator has to be bigger than the difference between two groups and bigger than the difference you would have expected to have occurred just by time occurring. So that's practice effect. Fatigue effect, as it sounds, is when you're tired. So in all of these, again, you can think about being tired. You get worse over time with billiards. If you play for too long, there's a great scene in The Hustler where this guy's beaten up on Minnesota Fets all night playing billiards, and Minnesota Fets goes to the water closet and he cleans up and he gets himself calm, and Fast Eddie just doesn't care. He just keeps going, and then Minnesota Fets beats him because one person's fatigued more than the other. Erasing game. So a number of times I've tried to do video demonstrations for you, and I've got a better car, but it's the second time or the third time I've done, or maybe it's end of the day problems all the time. So you get worse, even though you should be getting better, or there could be a change that's due to being tired rather than doing the manipulation. And of course, staying at home. Videos, watching me doing videos. I'm sure you get bored watching these, which is why all of these, we try to do them under 10 minutes each. All of these things that staying at home, we get tired of being home alone, for sure. The third category of effects are these carryover effects. And again, I want you to think about it. So it's a change. The impact of changing from the past to the current yields more difference than what you would have expected if you didn't go from point A to point B. So it might be, if you're using, if you've been playing on a lopsided table, for instance, maybe we set the table up with a slight tilt, and you play on the tilt for a while, and then we put it level, you might not be able to immediately change your shot to make up for that change in the table, or quality of the stick. Well, it might be that something seems brighter than it would have been because the change from how dark it was makes it seem bigger. Like the cars, when you're driving something that's got great tires and a great engine, and you go to something that's got a great engine but bad tires, you should see me flip the car a time or two. So all of these, what effect happens as a result of that last thing that you just did? How does that affect the next outcome? In the stay-at-home stuff, let's say that one was escapism, and we're assigning you to randomly consume alcohol for some period of time. And then right after the alcohol, when you do a meaningful task, well, the alcohol clearly has carryover effects, and so that affects the meaning one too.